there lovely crafters, welcome to the second video this month of me using the not too shabby stamp and die of the month kit. So if you didn't see the first one, I'll link that in the description box below, but it's called Just For You. So it's a really versatile set, and it's got beautiful different floral blooms, a watering can and some really versatile sentiments. It also comes with the coordinating dies, and that is to cut out absolutely everything. The sentiments, even the tiny little hearts. So this video today is going to focus on batch making cards. So if you've got this stamp set, excellent. If you haven't got this stamp set, this video will still be of use to you because it's talking about batch making cards and giving 8 top tips. So if I move those to one side, I'll give you a quick sneaky peek at the cards that we're going to be creating. So throughout this video I am going to be giving you lots of top tips around how to batch make cards, such as how to position elements on your card, how to make a focal point stand out, especially when you're using a really bright coloured colour scheme such as a rainbow. I'm not going to give away too much now because that's what the video is for. So let's dive in, shall we? Okay, so in order to batch make the cards that I've just shown you, the first step was to cut down 3 panels of cardstock that are suitable for ink blending. And I cut the panels, you cut the panels according to the size of the cards that you want to make. I knew that I wanted to make predominantly American size A2 cards, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 or smaller. So that's what size I've cut the panels to. And then it's really simple, you just need to pick rainbow colours. So it doesn't matter if you haven't got an orange. I didn't have an orange in 2 of my 3 panels, but mixing the red and the yellow will give you a nice orange, as you can see here. So you need a red, a yellow, a green, a blue, and then a purple. So I actually use 3 different inks just to play with different inks. So I used Distress inks on one panel. So for the panels that I did in the non-reactive, ink reactive inks, I used sparkle spray just to get a nice effect on the background. This also has the extra special effect of hiding any blotchy or dodgy ink blending. So if you're thinking ink blending's not really my bag, don't worry about it. Add a bit of shimmer spray and it covers up a multitude of sins. If it doesn't cover up everything you want it to, then that's what sentiments and embellishments are for. When you're batch making something, it's nice to be able to, yes, they're all going to have a similar sort of look and feel because they're a batch, but you can have variety in there. So obviously, as you saw, I have made 5 cards, and that's using 3 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 inch panels. So I've prepped the 4 cards. So obviously I want this to be a nice short snappy video where you pick up loads of tips, but my idea for this was really making a batch of cards. Number one, batch cards are great for example, if you want to send, if you want to gift someone a bunch of cards, making a batch is wonderful for that. Obviously also if you've got an occasion, if you celebrate an occasion like Easter and you want to send out lots of Easter cards, again, batch making's perfect. Same with Christmas or any other sort of religious event. That's another good reason for batch making. but the idea is that they all kind of look similar but different, because obviously if you're making it the exact same card, it's going to get boring, and that's the last thing that we want in our creative lives. So for this card, I've got a nesting die set where they're ovals, and some of them have this like ripped edge, and then outside they have a slightly bigger and inside a slightly smaller oval, but just with a straight edge. So I'm going to cut the this gorgeous panel, the centerpiece, out in this, and then I'm going to cut this outer piece in black to back it on. So I'm going to pop off and die cut the two shapes that I need, and when I come back we will assemble the 5 cards, and I'll give you tips on different card layouts and just playing about and having fun with that really. So I'll see you back in a mo. So I wanted to show you an easy way to get an image like this, because obviously the blooms are all separate to the watering can, and you may already know this. So if you do already know how to do masking of stamps, then feel free to fast forward for a minute. But for those of you who don't, for more beginner crafters, then this is a really useful thing to know, because you can use this technique in building like quite complex scenes. You just have to think about what item or what objects you want in the foreground and stamp them first and then mask them off, and then what needs to be inside them or behind them. So obviously in this case we want our bunch of flowers to be coming out of the watering can, so the blooms need to be behind. So we would stamp our watering can first, then we need to choose which blooms we want, and I think I'm going to go for tulips. If you're doing it in a similar area and you've cleaned off a stamp, just make sure you dry it so that the stamp will stick properly. So I'm going to choose the tulips, or crocus. No, crocuses, I think. That's a tulip. These are crocuses, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. So before we do that, we need to put our mask on. So the great thing about doing a batch like this is that you can just cut yourself 1 or 2 masks and just keep using them over and over again. We need to make sure the ink is dry. So if you use a water-based ink, they dry literally within seconds, so you know you're going to be fine. So then we place our bunch of blooms over the top, so this bit will be hidden behind, so the mask stops that from being stamped, which gives us the lovely effect of the blooms coming out of the top. And I also wanted to show you a little hack for stamping multiple sentiments quickly as well. So for example, I'm going to use on this batch, so there's 5 cards, and I want to use a mixture of just for you and happy birthday, because I don't send Easter cards and Mother's Day's already gone, and I've already given my mum a rather special card, so I'm just going to go for the generic ones. So now we remove the mask and voila, there we go. So we just fussy cut that out now. Obviously if you didn't want to do that, you could cut them you could stamp them separately and then just cut off the blooms and then stick them together. That's what I've done on, where is it, which one is it, this one. So I already had 2 watering cans from my last play with this Stamp and Die set, and I had 2 tulips. So one was stamped wonky and the other one I hadn't used. So what I did was I just stuck the bottom one, so I stuck the watering can onto a piece of just printer paper, and then I trimmed off the bottom of the tulip, stuck that where I wanted it to be. No, in fact I stuck the 2 watering cans together first and then stuck them on, and then I cut the tulip to the length I wanted it to be, laid that over the top of my other tulip die cut that to the same, and then glued that on top. So obviously it bends a bit, but once that's stuck down you're not going to see. So that's another way. If you didn't want to do masking, or you've run out of masking tape, you can just do it like that. But that will be what I'm using on the final card, so I'll fussy cut that out in a moment. But so I do want to show you a quick way of making sentiments. So you need to go a bit higher up in your stamping platform, and then position your sentiments with enough room for the coordinating die to go around. Now with these coordinating dies, they do fit quite closely, so that's the just for you. It fits quite closely around it, so you don't have to leave too much space. And then the happy and the birthday are separate, so we need to leave enough room for happy and then birthday. But we should be able to get 2 lots out of this piece of card, if my maths is correct. Happy, in fact birthday should fit there. Yep. So I'm now going to pull out a different ink that's better for stamping sentiments, because it is a pigment ink and it makes them much more crisp. So that was the VersaFine Onyx Black, in case anybody's interested. But doing it like this just stops you having to remove and clean all of the stamps. So because we've done it there, if we then just move that up and then test, move back down a little bit, yep, that should be fine there. And then I think we'll be able to get 1 more just for you. So I can have 3 just for you and 2 happy birthday cards. And just for you is great because you can have just for you on the front, and then inside you can put happy birthday, thinking of you, happy Mother's Day, on your special day, literally anything. So I'll move it up again. I think we actually might just about get them all on. So this is a much quicker way of stamping your sentiments. And you could do this one day when you were just, say in your craft room, you finished up a project, but you've got a bit more creative energy left, and you think, oh, what can I do that's just going to be useful for the future? You could just stamp out a bunch of sentiments like this, die cut them, and then put them in a little pot so that they're there ready for you for when you've made a card. Maybe you've left it blank because you wanted to. I do this quite often. I'll make a lovely card, leave the sentiment off, and then I will then make a sentiment for the occasion. So there we go, we've got a little page full of sentiments and we've got our beautifully masked off image. So I will see you back in a moment and we will assemble all of the cards. Okay, so obviously assembling 5 cards is going to include a lot of gluing, and this video is meant to be short and snappy and inspiring. So I'm going to cut out certain elements and speed up certain elements. But top tip number 1 for making batch cards is always keep your scraps. Even little bits like this that you've trimmed off the edge of a panel, just keep them, because you never know when they're going to come in handy. So for example, with this card, obviously I told you that I was going to use the oval die cuts as a centerpiece, and then the black and white element there, but then when I put it on the card it looked too blank. So I was thinking, okay, how am I going to make this more to my liking? So I could have ink blended around the edges. I could have made use of the beautiful paper pad that I've been using throughout on the other cards. I could have cut a panel to back this onto, but I was looking at my offcuts and I thought, oh, it'd be really nice to sort of frame this by having corner pieces. So that's what I did. And also, don't be afraid to change your design as you go along. This nesting die is designed to be placed directly on top of the other one, as nesting dies are, but it doesn't mean that that's the way that you have to use it. You could completely change it and offset it like that to give it a more unique look. And obviously all of my focal images, if you like, I've done them in black and white, so I'm not even going to colour them. I was initially, when I was planning the concept for this video, going to colour them in grayscale, but then I decided that actually they just look lovely as they are. So don't be afraid to experiment and change your mind. So I'm going to start now with assembling the cards. I'm going to speed up certain elements and add bits of music. That's the way the video will continue. we go, the completed 5 cards that form the batch. So in summary, my top tips for batch making cards are: number 1, you don't need many supplies at all. All we've used here is white card blanks, white cardstock, some coloured inks, black cardstock, patterned cardstock, and a gorgeous stamp and sentiment set and coordinating dies. But I've also added a few gems, but you don't need to add gems, but you probably got them in your stash anyway. Number 2, get your colour scheme organised first. So for me, choosing rainbow, that makes things pretty easy because obviously I can use any coloured patterned cardstock and it will go perfectly with the rainbow theme. Number 3, obviously I mentioned that there are things like card sketches out there for free that you can use to help you design layouts for cards, so those are available. In this video I haven't used anything like that, but I would just encourage you to think about angles and layers. So again, when you're sorting out your supplies, pull out any nesting dies or layering dies or pretty dies that you think might work well. It doesn't matter if you've got a stack of dies next to you that you can pick and choose from. Really, just think outside the box, just go with the flow. Save all of your scraps, and then obviously you can create lovely effects like these and also not waste any of your beautiful patterned panels and make them different to each other. Obviously there's some similarities in design in terms of, for example, this one and that one. And also this one, but obviously this one I've got like little banners coming down rather than stripes and corner patterns, but just because it's a batch make, it doesn't mean that they've all got to be the same, because you really want them to be different from each other to keep your creative juices flowing and so that it's not a chore for you. Number 7, I think we're at now. Have fun. Just really have fun with it. Just remember, this is your hobby. This is something that you really enjoy doing, and just because you're making a load of cards, it shouldn't get boring or tiresome for you. If it is, just take a step back, take a breather and go, okay, how can I mix things up a bit now? And then lastly, batch made cards like this make an excellent gift for somebody, because if you think how happy people are to receive handmade cards, to receive a box which you can easily find tutorials on the Tinterweb to make a box filled with cards that are things like just for you, happy birthday, etc. Or you could die cut a load of sentiments and just put a little bit of foam tape on the back so that people can pick the actual blank card and then choose the sentiment themselves. So they do make wonderful gifts, as well as also being time saving for us, the maker. So that brings me to the end of today's video. If you have enjoyed it, please let me know and YouTube know by hitting the like button and leaving a comment. Those two things really help YouTube to know that people enjoy the video, and then they show it to more people. And of course, if you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave them in the description box, and I will get back to you. So that's all from me today, and I will see you soon with some more crafty goodness. Bye for now.